Welcome to the second lecture of UNCLOS. Today in this lecture, we'll discuss about different maritime zone and ocean passage. Right? Let's begin. Let's start with internal water. UNCLOS Article 8 discusses about the internal water. It says that the except as provided in Part 4, waters on the landward side of the baseline of the territorial sea form part of the internal waters of the state. Right? So that means waters on the landward side of the baseline is the internal water of a coastal state, right? And in the clause 2 it says that where the establishment of a state baseline in accordance with the method set forth in Article 7 has the effect of enclosing as internal water areas which had not previously been considered as such, a right of innocent passage as provided in this convention shall exist in those waters. So it means that if you have used state baseline to create your baseline and that state baseline has encloses a former part of the former high sea, in that case as a coastal state you have to give the right of innocent passage to the foreign flag vessel. What is innocent passage? Innocent passage is a passage which is not prejudicial to the good order and security of the coastal state. Anyway, we'll discuss about innocent passage later on in depth, don't worry. Right, so let us see the animation. What is innocent passage, internal water. So here we have got a coastal state and here we have got the sea, and in the sea we have got a baseline, and on this baseline on the landward side we have got the internal water, and here the coastal state will have full sovereignty, right? And it can, coastal state can create laws and do whatever they want in this internal water, right? So if you are a coastal state and if it is your baseline, and if that baseline is a state baseline and that state baseline takes the part of a former high sea, in that case as a coastal state you need to give the right of innocent passage to the foreign flag vessel in this within your internal water. Otherwise you don't need to give the right of innocent passage, right? So what are the legal status of the internal water? It has got the full sovereignty in the internal water. The example can be bay, estuaries, port, river, canal, lakes, right, or including inland high seas, right? So that's why if you go to a port, you'll see that the port authority will have their own regulation, right? The right of coastal state, the coastal state will have full control over access and activities in the internal water. The coastal state can apply their domestic laws in the internal water, and coastal state can create new regulation for navigation in their internal water, right? There is only one exception in the internal water. What is that? The right of innocent passage if state baseline encloses former high seas. So if your baseline is a state baseline, in that case if that state baseline enclose a part of the former high sea, in that case you need to give the innocent passage to the foreign flag vessel, right? Let us discuss about territorial sea. Article 2 discusses about territorial sea. What is territorial sea? It says that the sovereignty of the coastal state extends beyond its land territory and internal water, and in the case of archipelagic state, the archipelagic water to an adjacent belt of sea described as the territorial sea. So that means the territorial sea is the sea which is adjacent to your baseline, and in that territorial sea you have got the extended sovereignty, right? And it also says that this sovereignty extends to the airspace over the territorial sea as well as to its bed and subsoil. That means the sovereignty, the coastal state will enjoy the sovereignty in the airspace as well. So that's why if you are a aircraft and if you want to use the airspace which is situated in the territorial sea, territorial boundary of a coastal state, you need to take permission, right? And Article 2, clause 3 says that the sovereignty over the territorial sea is exercised subject to this convention and to other rules of the international law. Then let's go to Article 3. Article 3 will tell us the breadth of the territorial sea. It says that every state has the right to establish the breadth of its territorial sea up to a limit not exceeding 12 nautical miles measured from the baseline determined in accordance with the convention. So that means your territorial sea cannot exceed more than 12 nautical miles, right? So if you have got this if it is your coastal state, and if you have got this sea level, and if you have got this territorial baseline, in that case the territorial sea will be up to 12 nautical mile from the baseline, right? Here you have got the extended sovereignty, and actually you can enjoy the sovereignty over here. Yeah, but there is only one exception. You need to give the right of innocent passage to the foreign flag vessel. That means if a foreign flag vessel which is not harmful to your sovereignty, that time actually the foreign flag vessel can pass through your territorial sea, right? What is the legal status? Of the territorial sea? It has the sovereignty of the coastal state extend beyond its land territory and internal waters to the territorial sea and the airspace over the territorial sea as well as to its subsoil and seabed. Coastal state right? The coastal state will have full control over fisheries, mineral resources and scientific researches. The coastal state can enforce their law related to custom, fiscal, immigration and sanitary. As we have discussed already, the coastal state has got only one limitation, that coastal state has to give the right of innocent passage to the foreign flag vessel, right? And if you want to know more, please read Article 2, 3 and 4 of the UNCLOS. Let us discuss about innocent passage. Article 19 gives us the meaning of innocent passage. It says that passage is innocent so long as it is not prejudicial to the peace, good order or security of the coastal state. Such passage shall take place in conformity with this convention and with other rules of international law. So that means as long as your passage is not prejudicial to the peace, good order or security of the coastal state, in that case your passage is innocent, right? And Article 17 gives the right of the innocent passage. It says that the subject to this convention, ship of all states, whether coastal or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through the territorial sea. So your ship, doesn't matter that ship is from a coastal vessel or from landlocked country, the ship will have the right of innocent passage in the territorial sea, right? So already we have seen that the innocent passage has got these three key feature. The first feature is that it is not prejudicial to the peace. The second feature is that it is not prejudicial to the good order, and it is not prejudicial to the security of the coastal state, right? And if you go to the Article 19, clause number 2 will give us total 12 situation or 12 cases when the coastal state can revoke the right of innocent passage, right? Is the first one, that the first case that if your ship poses any threat or use of force against the sovereignty, territorial integrity or political independence of the coastal state, in that case the coastal state may or can revoke the right of innocent passage. Then if your ship is involved with the exercise or practice of with weapon of any kind, in that time the coastal state may revoke the right of innocent passage. Number 3 is any act aimed at collecting information to the prejudice of the defense or security of the coastal state. So if your ship is involved in collecting information, in that case coastal state may revoke the right of innocent passage. Any act of propaganda, so if your ship is involved with any act of propaganda, in that case the coastal state can revoke the right of innocent passage. Then the launching, landing or taking on board of any aircraft, then the launching, landing or taking on board of any military device, then the loading or unloading of any commodity, currency or person contrary to the custom, physical, immigration or sanitary laws. and regulation of the coastal state. So if your ship is involved with loading unloading of any commodity, currency or person which is contrary to the normal regulation of the coastal state, in that case your ship, the coastal state may revoke the right of your innocent passage. I can give you an example. If you go to the Saudi Arabia, actually you cannot load unload liquor, right, which include maybe beer or whiskey in the territorial water of the Saudi Arabia, right, because beer or whiskey is banned in the Saudi Arabia, right. Any act of willful or serious pollution contrary to this convention, right. Then any fishing activity. So if you are enjoying the coastal state innocent passage, that time you cannot do the fishing activity. That the carrying out of research or survey activity, so you cannot do research or survey activity in the territorial water, or while you are enjoying the innocent passage of a coast within the territorial water of a coastal state, right. Any act aimed at interfering with any system of communication or any other facilities or installation of the coastal state. Number 12 is any other activity which not having a direct bearing of the passage, right. So these are the 12 activity when the coastal state can revoke the right of the innocent passage, right. So let us discuss about the contiguous zone. Before discussing the contiguous zone, let us see the animation. What is contiguous zone? So contiguous zone is a zone which is contiguous or which is adjacent to the territorial water, right. So and if you have got this baseline, so then we have got internal water on the landward side, then we have got 12 nautical mile, which is got, we have got territorial sea, then up to 24 nautical mile from the baseline, we can call it as a contiguous zone, right. So this contiguous zone, the coastal state enjoy limited sovereignty, right. Let us see what are the right coastal state can have. Before going to in detail, let us see what UNCLOS says. UNCLOS says that in Article 33, clause number 1, in a zone contiguous to its territorial sea described at contiguous zone, the coastal state may exercise the control necessary to prevent infringement of its custom, physical, immigration or sanitary laws and regulation within its territory or territorial sea. So that means in the contiguous zone, the coastal state may enforce law to prevent infringement of its custom, physical, immigration or sanitary regulation, right. Then in the contiguous zone, the coastal state can create law to punish infringement of the above laws regulation committed within its territory or territorial sea, right. And number 2, clause number 2 says that the contiguous zone may not extend beyond 24 nautical miles from the baseline. So in the Article 33, clause number 2, UNCLOS clears gives us the boundary of the contiguous zone. So it is up to 24 nautical miles. So as we have discussed, the contiguous zone will the coastal state will enjoy the limited sovereignty and which is adjacent to the territorial sea, and it will not extend beyond 24 nautical mile. Purpose of this contiguous zone, is used to prevent and punish infringement of custom, physical, immigration or sanitary laws within the territory or territorial sea, right. And coastal state, right, coastal state can enforce law related to custom, immigration, sanitation and physical matters to prevent, punish infringements that occur within its territory or territorial sea. Limitation: here in the contiguous zone, coastal state will not have full sovereignty. Only specific law the coastal state may enforce, and those law have to be related with custom, physical, immigration or sanitary, right. A specific economic zone, here we have got the coastal state, then we have got the territorial sea baseline. In the landward side we have got the internal water, then we have got the territorial sea, then we have contiguous zone, then up to 200 nautical mile from the baseline, that land or that sea area we call it as exclusive economic zone, right. So Article 57 gives us the breadth of the exclusive economic zone. It says that the exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical mile from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured, right? And Article 56 gives us the right, jurisdiction and duties of the coastal state in the EEZ. He said that in EEZ, the coastal state has sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring, exploiting, conserving and managing the natural resources, whether living or non-living, of the water superjacent to the seabed and of the seabed and its subsoil, and with regard to other activities for the economic exploration of the zone, such as production of energy from water, currents and winds. So that means in the exclusive economic zone, coastal state has sovereign rights to explore, exploit the natural resources, which include living resources or non-living resources. If we give an example of the living resources, we can give example of the fish, right? So the coastal state can explore or exploit the fish from the exclusive economic zone, right? And it also says that the coastal state can actually, if they want, they can use water, current and winds to produce electricity or energy, right? So that's why you will see that a lot of countries they have they had established wind farm in their EEZ, right? Especially if you come to Europe, you'll see that a lot of countries, including UK, Norway, all the Nordic countries, they have created a lot of wind farms in the EEZ, right? Because UNCLOS gives us that right. Then Article 56 1b says that jurisdiction as provided for in the relevant provision of this convention with regard to the establishment and use of artificial island, installation and structure. So UNCLOS gives us the right to the coastal state that the coastal state can create artificial island, right? So that's why you'll see that a lot of country, right, including Dubai, China, they have created a lot of artificial island in their EEZ, right? And it also said that the coastal state can do marine research in their EEZ, right? It is their exclusive right, and can take a measure to protect and preserve the marine environment, right? So let us see what are the coastal state right. So if we want to make it in a simpler word, we can say that the coastal state has got the sovereign right for exploring, exploiting, conserving and managing natural resources, and it has got jurisdiction over the artificial island, installation and marine scientific research and environmental protection, right? And in the EEZ of a coastal state, other state will enjoy the freedom of navigation, overflight and laying of submarine cables and pipeline, right? So in your EEZ, the other country can lay the submarine cable and pipeline, no problem, right? So here in this picture you can see that in the South China Sea, China has created an artificial island on Mischief Reef at the Spartlis group of island in the South China Sea, right? So China has created a lot. Again, Dubai has created, Singapore has created artificial island, right? So here we can see in the picture, so all the blue area are the part of the EEZ, right? So in this EEZ, the country has got sovereign rights, right? Not the sovereignty. Let us discuss about the continental shelf. What is continental shelf? Here you have got the sea level, you have got the baseline, then you have got internal water, here 12 nautical mile territorial sea, then you have got contiguous zone up to 24 nautical mile from baseline, then you have got exclusive economic zone which is 200 nautical mile from the baseline. Then you have the continental shelf or extended continental shelf. That area is called external continental shelf. And what is the boundary of that area? That area can be up to 350 nautical mile from the baseline or 100 nautical mile from the 2500 control line. Anyway, we'll discuss that one a bit more in depth later on, don't worry. So that's the area where the country can enjoy the right on the seabed, right? So this is the continental shelf, right? Let us see what UNCLOS says about the continental shelf. UNCLOS says that in the Article 76, the continental shelf of a coastal state comprises the seabed and subsoil of the submarine areas that extend beyond its territorial sea throughout the natural prolongation of its land territory to the outer edge of the continental margin or to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured, where the outer edge of the continental margin does not extend up to that distance, right? So I say that the to become continental shelf, obviously it has to be the submarine area and it has to be the natural prolongation of its land territory, right? And it also gives us the boundary. What is the boundary of the continental shelf? We said that the fixed point comprising the line of the outer limits of the continental shelf on the seabed drawn in accordance with paragraph 4A1 or 2 and 2 either shall not exceed 350 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured, or shall not exceed 100 miles from the 2500 meter isobath, which is a line connecting the depth of 2500 meters. So that means it gives us the breadth of the continental shelf as well. So in no case the country should not exit the 350 nautical miles from the baseline for continental shelf or 100 nautical mile from the 2500 meter isobath, right? In the what is the right of a coastal state in the continental shelf? The coastal state exercise over the continental shelf sovereign rights for the purpose of exploiting it and exploring its natural resources. And it also says that the natural resources referred to this part consist of the mineral and other non-living resources of the seabed, subsoil together with living organism belonging to the sedentary species. So that means the coastal state will have exclusive right on the mineral and other non-living resources of the seabed at subsoil, but they will not have exclusive right of the water column, right? So so that means the fish on the water column, the coastal state will not have exclusive right. They can fish over there. However, the other country vessel also can come and fish on the continental shelf, right? Obviously we have seen the UNCLOS definition, and it is a bit clumsy for our maritime student. So to make it simpler, we can say that the continental shelf is the natural prolongation of seabed and subsoil of submarine areas extending beyond the territorial sea up to 350 nautical mile from the baseline or 100 nautical mile from 2500 meter contour line. And the coastal state will have sovereign rights for exploiting natural resources, including the mineral and other non-living resources of the seabed and subsoil together with living organism belonging to the sedentary species. Right of establishing artificial island installation and structure. So the coastal state can actually build artificial island and structure in the continental shelf. And other state will have the freedom of navigation, overflight, laying of submarine cables and pipeline. Limitation: coastal state doesn't have exclusive right to explore and explore the living resources of water column, and it has got a long process for claiming the extended continental shelf. What happens if you want to claim for extended continental shelf, you have to submit your case to the International Seabed Authority, and International Seabed Authority actually will check that one and finally will give you the right of if you are eligible, then they will give you the right of continental shelf. A lot of country has actually gained that one. So far I can tell you some example: Pakistan, Australia, Ireland, Norway, they have gained the extended continental shelf, right? So again, let us see this animation. Here you have got the sea level, then you have got the baseline, we have got the 12 nautical mile, then you have got the 200 nautical mile EZ, right? After the EZ, then you have got the extended continental shelf, right? And that external continental shelf can be 100 nautical mile from 2500 meter isobath. Understood? right, or 350 nautical mile from 350 nautical mile from the baseline. And in that external continental shelf, what happens? The coastal state will have right over the seabed and subsoil, but they will not have the right on the water column. They will not have exclusive right on the water column. Here in the picture you can see the external continental shelf of Pakistan. So obviously the Pakistan has got EZ area, which is almost like uh, 240,000 square kilometer. Then they have claimed the external for their external continental shelf, which is up to 350 nautical mile from their baseline. And here, as they have got it, they have got extra 50,000 square kilometer of external continental shelf, where actually they have got the right of the seabed and subsoil, and from there actually they can extract mineral resources, right? And if they want, they can establish an artificial island over here as well, no problem. And this is the last topic, high sea. What is high sea? I said that all parts of the sea which is not included in the EZ, territorial sea, internal water, or archipelagic water, or of an archipelagic state. So that is called the high sea. What is the fundamental principle of high sea? It has got the freedom of high sea, and this freedom include navigation, overflight, laying and submarine of cables, construction of artificial island, fishing, scientific research. So these are the freedoms of high seas for any country, right? So any country can do navigation, any country can do overflight, any country can lay a submarine cable on the high sea, they can create artificial island, they can go for fishing and do scientific research on the high sea, right? And in that case, and the flag state will take the response when the vessel is on the high sea. The flag state will take the responsibility, right? And if you want to know more about high sea, please go to article 486 to 120 in the UNCLOS, right? So here actually the blue area is the high sea, where any country has got the freedom of navigation. That's all for the second lecture. uh, I hope it will help you to understand UNCLOS better. Thank you very much.